Well, this might be interesting. Hi everybody, welcome to Sprague Woodturning. My name is Jim. So this week I'm going to do something I personally have never done, and I've actually never seen it done either. I'm going to take a walnut crotch. This is one half, there's the other half sitting over there. And I'm going to invert them together, and then we'll pour resin around them and make a hollow form. So that's what we're going to do this week. Again, I've never seen this done before, so it should be interesting to see what we come up with. Anyway, that's this week's video. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. And of course, that thumbs up helps with the analytics. And please leave a comment down below, because that's where we're going to get the next winner of the 35,000 subscriber giveaway bowl from the comments down below. Okay, so first things first, I want to get these rounded to their final dimension for the casting bucket, and we'll get them cleaned up and we'll mix up some resin. All right, so one of the issues with using a bucket as a form is that it's tapered. So about the middle point of my orange bucket, this is going to be the size. But at the bottom, it's actually quite a bit difference in size by almost a ½ inch. So that's why you're going to see me use two different templates when I'm rounding these pieces. So I never even noticed until I was putting these pieces in. They say October on them, but that's not correct. Those went into the kiln the first week in September. And of course, it's now November. All right, so we're going to be using Deep Cast from Designer Epoxy. Here's something that I like to do. I just write the date that I got it on the top, and then if it's A or B, because if you take B cap, because it's going to have probably some B resin in it, and put it on A, then it sticks and makes a mess. And epoxy is really only good for about 6 months, so you should date it, that way you know if it's getting ready to expire or not. Alright, so I'm going to play the separation game again. So we're going to use rainbow blue in one. I'll probably add a little bit of mother of pearl with it. And the other one, I'm going to throw in some Tuscany gold, which we haven't used before. Alright, I'm going to set these in my clean room where there's heat, and in a couple hours we'll do the pour. Alright, so it's been over 2 hours now. So what I'm going to do, as you can see, I've got some shims in there so it's propped up and level. Got a weight on it so it doesn't float. And I'm just going to try and pour these in equally on each side. And hopefully they don't mix together and just make, I don't know, a lighter shade of blue. I'll just give that a minute to let it sit. It looks like it may need a little more. So alright, here's another 15 ounces. I've left this another half hour, but I'm afraid I can't really leave it any longer. The blue seemed to really go in a lot easier than the gold, so I'm going to pour the gold first to make sure that we get lots of gold in here on this side anyway before I pour any more blue. There you go. I think that's it. I'll just keep I'll give it about 10 minutes and I'll see if the level drops any further than that. But I think we're good from here on. Anyway, after that, I'll get some pressure in it and we'll see you guys in there in a couple days. All right, so we are out of the pressure pot. It's been 36 hours. The level has dropped off. I can't really tell exactly how far it's gone. I just hope that it's not gone past the opening of where the top of this comes to. I guess we'll find out here in a second, and we'll find out if this mold release was any good too. All right, air pressure it is. Well, that come off nice. All right, so anyway, that's what we're dealing with now. I can't believe that resin all disappeared the way it did. This wasn't punky at all. It should not have eaten up all that resin. So I'm not sure what to do. We're gonna have to do another pour, that's for sure. So here we go again. This piece fought me from the very start. Here I'm using a Typhoon bit just to take away that hard witness line. And then you'll see in a little bit, I use just some 80 grit sandpaper just to clean it up, take away any aggressive tool marks from it. And this actually worked quite well. The witness line for the most part disappeared, and I'm happy with that. But there was a bunch of other things that haven't gone right with this project, but you'll see those coming up. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm just going to mix up some blue, some rainbow blue again, and cast this again, and I'll see you when it comes out of the pressure pot. All right, so we're out of the pressure pot again. I couldn't resist it. I did put a little bit of gold in here. See, maybe a little bit there and there. Anyway, let's see if we can get this out again. Come out fairly easy the first time. I must say that does work pretty slick. All right, so this is going to be interesting to see what this looks like. Actually looks really good there. The blend is nice. All right, let's get it on the lathe. So before we start turning, I just want to mention that I drilled down past the resin on the top and bottom of this piece so that the spur drive is actually into good solid wood, and same with the live center on this side. Last thing you want to be doing, this resin is so hard, the spur drive won't penetrate past it, and then you've got a little resin block being supported, big chunk of wood, so that's no good. So make sure you get down to good wood before you pinch this between centers. The RPM is 620. Starting off with the Hercules here from Hunter Tool Systems. And that's pretty much my go-to tool now for these resin wood combos. It actually works very, very well. You'll also see me use the 5/8 bowl gouge from David Ellsworth. I certainly like to do a lot of shear scraping with that. But for the most part, I think that it's mostly the Hercules here that does the bulk of the work. Anyway, I'm just going to let this play through, and I'll come in every now and then, but enjoy. All right, so we finally got this whittled down to get a good look at what's going to happen here. And you know, I don't think you're even going to notice a witness line where it's dipped in here and in there. But the coolest thing is check out that. Check out that figure. Talk about eerie. Looks totally like an owl to me. Here's his nose, his two eyes, his nose hanging down between. Oh man, I really want to keep that detail, but we've got a long ways to go here. So I'm going to have to give the form some thought, and hopefully we'll be able to keep this figure because it's awesome. And the pearl, I mean, this is going to be a really, really nice bowl for sure. Sorry, hollow form. Very, very cool. I'm very pleased with that. I thought for sure that we were going to see a very defined witness line, but looks like we're not going to. And even down below here, it's almost like it's feathers from this curly, this crotch green that's here. Very cool. So I got to try and figure out how to keep that. All right, so I'm really keen on keeping this figure. So I'm going to sacrifice a bit of the size on this. The hearts here are still in the work, and I would like to get rid of them. But, you know, I hadn't really planned on coming in that far. By coming in just to here, I could have gotten rid of, you know, all of them except for this one. What I think I'm going to do is cut this down to the here. And, you know, maybe I'll even dome this going straight up, or you know what I mean, on a taper straight up. And then on the back, on the bottom side, so this is going to be the base. And I'm just going to taper this off to a foot. So it'll have kind of a flat top and a curved base. I think that's the way that I want to go with this. I really don't want to lose that. That is really, really cool. So anyway, I guess we got some whittling to do. I might switch out to the bowl gouge since there's no resin on the very top of here, just wood, and then switch back to the Hercules afterwards. Regardless, it's really cool. You know, it's I'm really digging this concept. It's got a fairly even pour. Well, it's a little thin here, but anyway, it should look really neat when it's done. This is truly one of those pieces that you can call one of a kind, for sure. You can see here how much more aggressive the 5/8 bowl gouge is compared to the Hercules. I really, you know, I'm still a firm believer that if you're going to be a turner, you've got to learn to use a gouge. That's going to be your number one tool. Uh, but in this case, you know, since there's no resin there, there's absolutely no reason not to use the gouge. And anyway, that's the way I prefer to do it. And you'll see, I'll go back to the Hercules here once we get into the resin wood combo again. Okay, so I was turning and then I heard a snap. And it looks like the resin has delaminated from the wood. And I'm not exactly sure what the deal is there. I plan on removing more of this, so it may be a non-issue anyway. What I'm going to do is dump some clear CA down in there. It's lunchtime anyway. And hopefully it fills that all in. And hopefully it's only in there a little ways. This is the first. It's never happened to me before. I don't know if you can see it along that crack there or not. Anyway, always dealing with something now, aren't we? All right, so like I said, use the Starbond thin. Just the accelerator to set it. It will be a shame if this delaminates and we lose it. This is going to be a beautiful piece, especially this year, man. I don't want to lose that. There, it's all filled in there now. Anyway, I'll let that sit over lunch, and then hopefully that's the end of it, and we won't have to worry about it again. Fingers crossed. So I initially wanted to use a much larger tenon, and then I figured it was going to interfere with my design, so that's why I switched it to a smaller tenon, if you're curious. All right, so this is more or less the outside profile I'm going for. I might go for a smaller little foot area here. And then this is sloped on the top, and there's actually a lot of crotch grain on the very top, so that will look nice. But you know, I've never dealt with this before. This is delamination, and I don't know if it's because it's so smooth. Everything was kiln dried. It shouldn't be moving. It's not wet. It could be that there's just so much tension built up in that crotch area that it's, you know, deciding that it doesn't want to play and it's going to move and do its own thing. So that's why I think it's probably best to maybe unclamp it from, you know, from the lathe here. And I think I'll make some dams, and I'll mix up some blue Pro Series and make some dams in these areas and fill them in. And hopefully I'll put that in the pressure pot, and hopefully overnight all that resin will wick in there and it will stop doing this. The CA glue doesn't seem to be stopping it. It's just doing its own thing. So anyway, we still got this. We haven't lost this, and I mean, this is going to make this piece. So it's kind of something that I want to leave, and that's why, I mean, my original plan was just to whittle this all away and to just make a rounded hollow form. But once I seen this, there's no way I could get rid of that. Really bummed out about this. The other thing too is, so here's the other piece. Sounds solid, right? Big difference in noise. So that tells me that this is loose. I did actually try and pry it. Ideally, I'd like to see this thing pop off, and then I'd scuff it all up and then put the resin on here again. What I think is going on here is, because this is a crotch piece, and we're combining two of them together. That there's a lot of tension built up in this. You can get away from this by rough turning this and letting it sit for a little bit, and then it will probably relax, and then it's fine to turn afterwards. But in this case, we're not going to be able to do that. So anyway, I'll put these dams on here, mix up some resin, put it in the pressure pot, and hopefully this is done moving by the morning and the resin has a good solid bond on it, because I really don't want to lose this piece. I mean, it's a pretty piece of wood. I mean, there's the top. The top of that is going to look absolutely fantastic when that grain's all sanded. So, you know, there's a little bit of a dome to it. So anyway, let's try and save this piece. Well, I think it'll be a small miracle if this thing doesn't leak. Anyway, let's, while that's hardening up, let's get some resin done. So I originally said I was going to use the blue here. I decided to go back with the gold. That way, I figured that I wouldn't be able to match the blue up. So lots of gold in this, so I decided to go in that direction. And you know, I don't think that there's a huge, massive cavity in here that I need to fill. But you know, I want to make sure that there's a good reservoir here so that if it needs it, it can pull from it when I put it in the pressure pot. All right, so it's the next day. We're out of the pressure pot. Things look like they may have worked correctly. I guess we'll have to see. Well, I think we got her. Don't see any more delaminations. I don't see any gold either, so maybe that only just went in a little ways. Maybe I zigged when I should have zagged, if you know what I mean. But anyway, better safe than sorry later on. All right, let's get this turned around and start doing some hollowing. All right, so we are outboard, and if you remember, I got this hollowing rig from D-Way Tools, and this is the reverse rotation one. Now this is pretty much at its maximum, so I'm gonna have to go in here, make a little bit of room so that this outrigger can actually go around the bowl here, or sorry, the hollow form. So it's gonna be a little tricky. I've never used this before, and maybe I should start on something smaller, but that's not me. So we're gonna give this a go. And the great thing about this, of course, is being a lefty, I can use it left-handed. So that's awesome. Now I'm not real tall. I'm only 5'6", and I do find having my elbow up in this position is not really that comfortable for me. So I might get something to stand on just so I'm a little bit taller and a little more comfortable doing this action. So if I seem taller on camera, that's why. So you'll see, you know, my first time using this, trying to figure out what's the best way to have the cutter. There's just barely enough room. There's not, at this point, there's not even enough room for the outrigger to go around the outside. So, you know, eventually I see that it isn't going to work unless I open up the opening. So, here I am with the 5/8 bowl gouge, and I just clear out some more space in there to allow the cutter to work. If I had to do it again, I probably would have drilled a bigger hole. Just a half inch would have made a huge difference. So there, I've got a big enough opening in there now that I can actually get the outrigger past the edge of the hollow form. So, it's nice. It's nice to be able to use a tool where you can actually feel what's going on, unlike the captive system that's kind of restrictive in that regard. I should also mention if you're looking at those wing nuts that are on the outrigger, they're actually used to hold a thing called a tickler, which is just a spring. Unfortunately, we never get to use them, but we certainly will in the future. All right, that's about all I can show you really. Sorry, I just can't get the light in there. So I like this tool. You can actually, unlike with the captive system, you can actually feel where you are and what you're doing. I find it sometimes very tough to do that with a captive system. The only problem is this is about, this is pretty far in off of the tool rest. Get this out here. So, I'm getting a little bit of vibration, and that is the benefit of a captive system, is that, it'll hopefully take the vibration because it wants to do one of these numbers, right? Because it's catching. And let's be honest, I mean, these are two pieces of crotch wood that are very, very hard to cut. And you've got resin in here that's very hard to cut. So, it's probably, so when you think about a traditional hollow form, the grain is usually running in this direction. And with this being a scraping tool, which most hollowing systems are, scrapers are designed to work on end grain turnings, which, is a normal hollow form. Not to say that it won't work on everything else, because it certainly will, but that's what it's designed for. So I'm going to keep going with this. It is a bit of a fight at the bottom, and then we'll see later on. Anyway, I'm just going to keep doing this. There's no point in you guys being here because you can't see anything anyway. If anything happens, I'll let you know. I decided to leave these clips in just to demonstrate. I watched the video on DUA Tools website where Mike is using this tool, and he's holding it at the very back. So I thought I would try that, like I'm doing there. And it's certainly, I would say, more comfortable for me to do it that way. Maybe it's got something to do with my height. I'm not sure, but you can see it's really grabbing and diving. And here I just thought I'd show you another look from the other side, if you're curious what it looks like from that angle. All right, so here's where we're at. This This is too big for this setup. As you can see, my tool rest is on an angle here. So in order for this to get inside and at the top, you've got to go way in here. And so that's why the tool rest is out. And you know, that's fine. I think that I can probably make this. The problem is when you go down here to the very base, you're overhanging that much. And so what's happening is it's catching and diving. So, and the other issue is I didn't drill this deep enough. And because the opening is because this is so big, I can't get the center of the tool over to clean up the bottom. So, you know, this is a great tool and we will certainly be using this more in the future. This turning is just too large, I believe. And we never got a chance to use the ticklers, but anyway, they're basically springs that go in here, and that's what you use as a gauge block. Anyway, in the future, we will certainly use this again on other projects. And like I said, this is a great tool, and I really like the fact that you can actually feel what's going on with it, as opposed to the captive system that we're going to have to switch to in order to finish this out. Anyway, it was a learning experience for me. And hopefully you guys learned as well. All right, let's move to the captive system inboard. All right, so we're all set up. This is the one-way captive system. There's a laser. Got to adjust it so it's right on the very point. And when we go inside here, there you can see the kind of depth that we got. I probably only want to go about another ½ inch or so. I want to leave a little bit of mass at the bottom here and maybe fine tune the base as well. So once I've got kind of the bottom all cleaned out, I will then switch out the cutter and we'll finish the sides and the upper part of this hollow form. So far this is good. There's no issues here. It was taking quite a beating, trust me. So far so good. Nothing has gone wrong with the resin in this piece. All right, let's get done. So of course the big benefit of using a system like this is that you always know where the cutter is. You'll see me offset it here doing the bowl later, or sorry, the form later on. But the great thing is you always know where that cutter is. So there's less likelihood of going through the bottom of your form or coming out through the side. So here's the depth of our bottom. I think I'm going to leave it there. That way, if we want to do sort of a fancy internal mortise in the very bottom of this, we can do that. As far as the rest of it is concerned, we still got a ways to go yet. But I'd say we're pretty close to 1.5 inch wall thickness right now on the upper end of this. I'm going to switch out the cutter and be right back. All right, so this is the bent arm I've got in. Got my laser set to about 3/4 of an inch. And once we've achieved that throughout the vessel, then I'll probably go to 1/2 inch and, you know, I'll probably leave it there. Between 1/2 and 1/4 is good for me. It doesn't need to be any thinner than that. So from here, actually from here to there, that is let go again. I can't catch my fingernail in it down there, but I certainly can here. This is frustrating. This is a beautiful piece and I don't want to lose it. Oh, I guess we'll try the CA glue again and go from there. Now I'll try and look on the inside of this, and if I don't see any glue coming through, then we know that it's, you know, more superficial than anything. If it wasn't for this, this would be all done. It's looking more and more like this one's going to be late this week. Yeah, so I can see the whole resin joint inside here, and it's not come through. So that's a good sign. Again, I don't know if it's just built up stress in the wood or what it is. Just got to clean up this area inside here, and I think we'll finally be ready to clean up the outside and get things sanded. It's been a fight, people. It's been a fight. All right, so the inside is all done. Some of you are probably wondering why I didn't do the outside before doing the inside. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure that it was going to make it, was one. So I don't see the point of finishing anything on the outside or the inside for that matter if you're not sure that it's actually going to survive what you're doing. I thought we may have to pour more resin along here. That was another reason. So now that the hollowing is done, and I'll give you a sneak peek in there because I know that some of you probably really want to see. As good as I can do for you. Little bit of tear out in the resin, but not too bad, and it's pretty smooth. All right, so now I'm going to do the outside, get it all ready for sanding, and then we'll do that next. That's just a little extension that goes to my drill for the for my sanding disc holder. That holder is actually probably around 1.5 inches. I ground it down so that those 3.5 inch nipple discs can fit through the hole and wrap around it. I think I only sand it to 220 on the inside of this piece. I just didn't really see the need to go any higher. And of course, that's only in the places that I could get to. Anyway, once the inside was done, I switched to the outside. Same thing, 60 to 800 this time. So I thought the camera was on, but it wasn't. So that's why the forum is so shiny. Anyway, buffing with triple E compound from BL Buffing System. Then of course denatured alcohol to clean up. Well, all right, we are finally at the first coat finish on this beast. It has taken, I've been at this 9 hours today alone for this piece. So this is wood bowl finish by General Finishes. Some people wonder why hollow forms are so expensive. Well, there's your answer. I don't know how many hours I get into this, but it's a lot. Beautiful crotch grain. How cool is that? And there's our eyes. Still got those. That's actually the whole design is based around those two sets of eyes. Very, very cool. No witness line. There's no way you'd be able to even tell there was a witness line there. Especially with all these little dips in it. Outstanding. Love, love, love it. All right, that's it for me. I am beat. See you guys tomorrow. Hopefully I can get the second and third coat of finish on because I'm running out of time. See you tomorrow. Since we're moving to the finishing stage here, I figured I would put a glue block on the bottoms so that I can handle the piece without putting my paw prints on it. All right, so it's the next day. Before I put this in the clean room last night, I actually dumped a bunch of finish on the inside and swished it all around and dumped it out. So it's got a good heavy coat inside of the form. So let's do some buffing and get our second coat on. I hope to actually do 2 coats today, but we will see. Well, I thought we were all done moving, but this has broken free again here. It hasn't on the inside, so this is so frustrating. This is easily going to set me back 2 days. Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is use this electrical tape, and this is just an effort to keep the CA glue from running all over the surface of the turning, because that's what I'm going to use. It's just this one little strip, and that's the one that was there yesterday too. And or I think when we did the second resin pour, or the third resin pour, I should say. All right, so now we're going to do the second coat. Again, this is wood bowl finish by General Finishes. So because we've sanded this off, we've technically back to square one on finishes. But, you know, I just can't, I can't let things like that go. Some people might be happy and content with that. I'm not. Especially since this is going to be a fairly expensive hollow form. You know, I really want the thing to be perfect. There it is, beautiful once again. You know, I just, I can't really put my finger on it as to why this is moving the way that it is. It could be that this piece isn't dried out. I don't know. I'm actually very surprised that I'm dealing with this, because I tested it with the moisture meter and it was less than 6%. So we shouldn't be having drying issues. But you never know. Anyway, I'll do the second coat later on today. And if all goes as planned, maybe we will have this video out on Friday. Anyway, I'll see you at the end when I'm doing the foot. And yeah, I guess we'll go from there. Have a good day. Alright, let's have a last little look at this beautiful hollow form. Now, as you can see, it still has the glue block on it, and that's because this ever so slightly opened up again, and I mean, you can just barely feel it. But you know, get that to focus on here. Right down in this area here. Right here, specifically. Anyway, I don't even think you can see it. So the plan is right now, I'm going to put this in my clean room with the heat on, and it's going to sit there for 2 weeks. I'm not going to touch it for 2 weeks. And I'll keep an eye for any cracks or anything that happens here. And once I'm sure that it's done moving, then I'll finish it. And I'll either do an update video on it, or I'll show it at the end of another video that I do. Very disappointing, to say the least. Huge amount of time in this. There's the very top. I mean, beautiful crotch grain. That walnut. Both sides. Crotch grains down underneath of the piece as well. And I think this is 10.5. I'm not exactly sure, by 6, maybe high 5 or 6. And you know, the wood is awesome. But of course, the star of the show is our owl, or whatever you want to call that. I think it looks a little better in this configuration. It looks more like a set of eyes. Focus on that. And it was kind of funny. My son was out here and he looks at it. I said, "Don't you see the owl?" And he goes, "It looks like a pig's nostril to me." So that's what he sees in there. I see an owl and he sees a pig's nostril. So I don't know what to tell you. Regardless, this is a beautiful piece, and I'm positive that I'll be able to save it. And anyway, I'm going to set it down because it's heavy. Anyway, it will be for sale, and if you're interested, contact me, spraguewoodturning@gmail.com. But I warn you, it's not going to be cheap. Alright, so what do I think happened here? I know that it had October written on the blanks. That is not correct. I know for sure that those went into the kiln the first week in September. I don't know why I've got October on there. Just must have been a Monday. That's all I can say. And again, I pin tested those with the moisture meter. It was under 6%. So I don't think that moisture is a factor here. I think that it's probably more got something to do with the fact that it's crotch grain. And you know, I know better. I've worked with enough crotch pieces here that they tend to move a fair bit after being dried. And I think that that's maybe what's going on here. After the bark was cleaned off, it did leave behind a fairly smooth surface, but you know, I've worked with epoxy enough now to know that, you know, I don't think that that's the reason why that's coming apart. That's coming apart because it's moving, because I think that it's just the crotch grain and all that wild grain. There's a lot. You look at that top piece, it's all crotch grain across the top of it, and the bottom piece too. So, you know, maybe the solution to that is to actually physically turn them into two halves and then cast them like I did with the two barrels are better than one vase. That may be the answer to it. But a lot of times when you dry wood, it creates a lot of tension in it. And then when you start to machine it, the tension comes out of it. So I don't know. I've got two more crotch sections in my kiln right now. I'm not done with this method. I want to keep going with it, and it may depend on the species. I mean, that may be all there is to it. I've got some butternut in there that I don't think has a huge amount of crotch grain in it and may act just perfectly fine. The next time that I do two halves like that, I'll actually take some 80 grit and sand the surface of that just to make sure that that resin's got a good tooth to bite into. Anyway, leave me a comment down below what you think about this week's project. Yeah, I'm very frustrating. A lot of time, a lot of materials. But you know, it's fun working through these problems. As a wood turner over the years, I mean, a bowl's a bowl. Like I can almost turn bowls blindfolded. So, you know, it's nice and refreshing to be challenged at the lathe, and that certainly did that. Again, the D-Way Tools Hollower, I think that that's a fabulous addition to the shop, and we will see more of that coming up. That was just a little too ambitious for that tool. I had to try it. What can I say? Anyway, again, let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget about our sponsors, Designer Epoxy, sandpaper.ca, Starbond Adhesives, and of course Hunter Tool Systems. All your discount codes are in the description down below. If you need some stuff, check them out. Next week, the video will be up and active on Thursday. That is November the 11th, and that is Remembrance Day here in Canada. So I'm going to make a commemorative poppy platter / bowl. So anyway, that's the plan. So anyway, come on back for that. Okay, that's it. I'm done talking. Till next time, take care, stay safe. Don't forget that bell. See you next time.